Hello everyone and welcome to Jurassic Blocky. If you don't know what this game is, then, well, what rock have you been living under? I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Let me explain. Jurassic Blocky is a game based on the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World series where you can play as pretty much any dinosaur you see in it, even briefly. That's the simplest way I can put it. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the how to play each dino, how to progress in this game, and overall just going over the game itself, the fan base, what people are like, what the game is like, and etc, etc. So, starting off, the game itself is... Well, starting off, the game itself is very simple. You run around, you collect dino coins, which you can see at the top of the screen here. You collect those to buy more dinos, and then you can run around, kill players, team with players, or just, you know, be a loner. And the way to get coins in this game is easy. There are 3 ways to get coins. The best way to get them is by killing players. The second best way to get them is by collecting ambers, which are bright orange stones that you can see around the map, even from across the way, and if you walk up to them and hold E, you'll gain 50 coins. Meanwhile, killing players, depending on the size and the kind of dinosaur you kill, can give you anywhere from 10 to 400 coins. And the third way to get coins is killing goats. Goats are small AI that will just spawn all over the map and are usually 1 or 2 shot depending on what you're playing as, and they give you about 10 coins each. You can kill as many of them as you want, you can collect as many ambers as you want, you can kill as many players as you want right up until you die. And of course when you die, you don't lose anything. You just pick another dino or pick the same one, spawn back in, go at it again. The player base is... it's something, I'll tell you that much. While there are a lot of good people in the player base, and there are a lot of people that you'll find in the player base that are genuinely fun to hang around with, or funny to be around, most people in this fan base are rather toxic. So if you can't handle a lot of toxicity, or a lot of yelling, or a lot of people being really annoying, this game probably isn't the one for you. Unless, of course, you plan on just not ever looking at the chat. In which case, if you don't ever look at the chat, you're fine. The toxicity in this game can range from a lot of people complaining about teaming, which I want to make it expressly clear, there is no rule against teaming. There isn't a single rule against teaming at all in the slightest. You can team with as many or as little people as you want, or you can be a loner. Doesn't matter, you can team. That's the point. If you've played another game similar to this called Kaiju Universe, you would know that they don't really allow teaming all that much. This game is different. You can do it to your heart's content. No one cares. The people that do care are usually the toxic ones that I'm talking about right now. You know who you are if you're watching this video. I should note, by the way, the guides I'm going to be going over with a lot of these dinos, partial bias. And I say partial bias due to the fact that I myself, this is just from my own experience playing these dinos, I highly recommend that you play every single dino in this game in order to garner your own opinions and your own wants to play them. So do not let my opinion sway yours, okay? Try everything first, then see how it feels. I'm just giving you my own personal opinion from my mouth, as I'm also explaining how to play these. Before I get into all of the dinos, I want to note there are a couple of signals in this game that people are going to want to be very mindful of when they're playing this. If you happen to run by another dino, or run away from one, or one just starts sprinting towards you and you happen to go the other way and they start roaring at you, for example, the Gallimimus has a squawk, but if something roars at you, then usually, unless you are playing with a friend and you know where that friend is and they happen to just look at you and roar at you, if your friend roars at you, normally speaking, if you guys have already made plans to team, that usually just means that they're trying to let you know it's them and that they're still open to teaming, or something along those lines that's somewhat similar, and That's just from my experience. Maybe it's a bit different for other people, but that's from my experience. If someone you don't know tries to roar at you, though, and they start sprinting after you, that usually means that they're trying to look for a fight. Now, if you see people lingering around the person trying to fight you, I wouldn't trust it. Most people will try to go into a 1v1, advertising it as a 1v1, and then they'll turn it into a team fight, which isn't fair, by the way. If you're gonna go into a fight, go into it knowing it's a 1v1 or knowing it's a team fight, and, well, act accordingly. Either you fight them or you run away. Simple. The other one is, if you see dinosaurs spinning at you or spinning at each other, that is the, universal sign in this game that you want a team. If you want to try forming a team, just walk up to a dinosaur, start spinning at him, and if they start spinning back, or if they, just don't immediately try to eat your face, then that usually means that you're on a team with them. Unless, of course, they attack you, in which case the team is broken and you have free reign to just kill each other. Or, of course, if the person in question specifies that hitting you was an accident, in which case you're fine. I would recommend waiting to see if it was an accident or not, and waiting to see if they continue trying to hit you. Sometimes people in teams will also try to hit you if you start trying to attack someone that's their friend and you didn't know. They'll hit you once, and then they'll try to get you to fuck off for a second, and then they'll just, shake their head at you. Like that, and then just continue meandering on, assuming that you don't try to murder their friend again. Trust me, that's a lot more common than you think. I've done that so many times. Anyways, I think that's it for all the signals. Now we can go on to actually learning how to play the game. The controls to this game are very simple. You have your M1, that is your main attack button. You have 3 attacks that can go in a chain, each with ramping damage. So we have this, this, and this. Most dinos in this game, and I say most because not all of them do, but most dinos in this game also have a heavy attack, which on PC is F on your keyboard. And then, you have your roars. Roars don't actually do much, anything. They're usually just there for cosmetic and to make sound. So, each dino has 2 roars, with some having 3. I'm pretty sure the Indom and the Scorpius have 3, if I remember correctly. I don't fully remember. But yeah, most have 2, some have 3, and on PC, those would be 1, 2, and 3 on your keyboard. Roars do have a cooldown, which to my knowledge is genuinely just to prevent people trying to sound spam with them, which, thank you Jurassic Blocky does for that, because I would go insane if I heard everyone trying to sound spam their roars all at once in-game. Anyways, now that we have the controls out of the way, this is the first dino you start with, the Gallimimus. The Gallimimus as a dino is not very good. It can 2-shot goats. It's really fast. I think it's one of the fastest dinos in the game. It's your starter dino. What you're gonna want to do with the Gallimimus, since you can't actually 1v1 people unless they're playing either Velociraptor or Pyroraptor, or very occasionally another small dinosaur, it really depends. One thing that the Gallimimus is really good at, though, is being a cockroach. You can be a serious annoyance in this game. If you happen to team with someone that's bigger than you, like for example, just last night, I ended up teaming with one of my friends, who was, if I remember correctly, playing as the Pyroraptor. We ended up both running around and just picking people off. We were literally just the you're not allowed to heal team. Because when you enter combat, you have 14 seconds to either not attack anyone or not be dealt damage. And if you are dealt damage or you deal damage anytime within that 14-second timer, it resets. If it runs out, then you're back in the safe zone, as seen by the safe text down here, and your health will slowly start to regenerate. Now, nice. Now, what you can do with this guy, if you're teaming with something, and there's a person that just happens to try getting away from you, and there's just a person that, maybe there's a person that just happens to try getting away from the person that you're teaming with, you can just run up behind him before they can heal and just then run up behind him, kick him, run back the other way before you die. And what do you know? You're perfectly fine. So yeah. What you're going to want to do, though, in terms of not teaming, if you're not teaming with anyone, is searching for ambers and killing goats to get your money. That's pretty much all you can do. There are technically better variations of the Gallimimus, that being the Pyroraptor, but anyways, yeah, the Gallimimus's damage isn't that great. Obviously, it's your starter character. Its damage is pretty mediocre, all things considered. But it does have a pretty good passive, that passive being Runner. Basically, when you reach below 50% health, your movement speed and sprint speed, like your walk and sprint speed, is just halved, so that you can't run away. Obviously, there are people that still do run away, myself included. I do end up running a few times if I know I can't win a fight. And yes, people have gotten mad at me for it. Do I care? No. But Runner basically makes it so that that halved movement speed doesn't exist. Because Runner makes any dino that has that passive 50% resistant to health-based speed reduction. Which, currently, to my knowledge, the only thing that does that is the built-in below 50% half. So, basically the Gallimimus is immune to that, and can just run away if they feel like it. I believe Pyroraptor also has this as well, hence why I say the Pyroraptor is a better Gallimimus, because while the Pyroraptor has 50 less health and a lot less stam, they make up for that in having more damage. Granted, you do still have to two-shot goats, but whatever. So, if you want to play the Gallimimus, that's great. If you want to be a cockroach, that's awesome. I'm just saying the Pyroraptor is effectively just a better version of that. Anyways, moving on to our first dino besides the starters, going in order of the list. So the first dino on the list here is the Anki, and this guy, if you couldn't tell from the health, 2200, this thing is a tank. Most times you'll find an Anki, most times they end up getting teamed on pretty fast. So if you're gonna play the Anki, expect to get teamed on at least a few times. However, most people with a brain don't usually tend to mess with the Anki. While its attacks do have a wind-up to them, they deal a lot of damage. This guy is a powerhouse. So while yes, your health can deplete quickly, of course, if people, actually play against you correctly, you can die pretty quick. However, it's really hard to do so. I've seen Anki's 3v1 before and still come out on top and then manage to heal to full health. They are crazy. Granted, there is a bit of a skill ceiling to them to play them correctly, but they are a really good dino to have, especially in a public server if there's a lot of teamers around. And if that stuff happens to piss you off, or you're getting teamed on a lot, and you want something that can just take out a bunch of people at once, this guy is the one for you. One thing to note about this guy, though, if you end up fighting an Anki, don't try doing this. As you see, I'm walking sideways with my control lock on, sprinting sideways with it even. This is what people in that community will call side boxing. Now, I don't care what term you give it, you're abusing your hitbox. It's just hitbox abuse. There's no other way to put it. You're just abusing hitboxes. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's not boxing of any kind. You're abusing your hitbox because you want to think that you're better than everyone else. I'm sorry, I'm sorry to say it like that, and I know that sounds really rude and really brutal, but literally everyone I have ever seen doing that is either a really bad Spino player, a really bad Indom player, or, you know, they just think that they need to use that. Granted, I'll give it a pass on the Spino because the Spino is super narrow and their attacks kind of suck in my opinion. But it's like, it's just side boxing in my opinion is just bitch play. I don't care. It's not skilled. It's literally just turning your camera to the side and abusing a hitbox, which in my opinion makes the Spino a little worse because you literally have to abuse a narrow hitbox just to fucking play it, which that's boring. I'm saying this as a person that does play the Spino. I find that really boring. But yeah, Anki is a really good dino, all things considered, but the cool thing about the Anki, sideboxing against it doesn't work. I actually played this with my friend last night who was playing as the Anki, and people kept trying to sidebox it, and it doesn't work. You cannot sidebox an Anki, and I'll show you why. See, because no matter how fast you are, if you're playing a large dinosaur that's somewhat slow, this thing is just gonna launch itself into you, and you're gonna get dealt hundreds of damage in just the span of 3 attacks. And its heavy is even better. So, let me just quickly go up here. So, that's the heavy. Basically, anyone caught around the Anki within close range, or anyone caught in that cone of spikes there, gets launched and ragdolled. This thing's nickname is the person launcher for that very reason. I have seen people go flying into the skybox with this thing. It's really funny. And it's also really good if you're either A, teaming with someone that also has a heavy that can ragdoll, so you guys can heavy stack, or if you just really need some crowd control and you need people to hop off of you, then, you know, you can just pop your old heavy. And hey, look at that. Everyone around you just went flying. The spikes themselves also do damage as well, but the most useful part of it is the ragdoll, especially if you need some crowd control, which, given that this thing tends to get teamed on pretty often, crowd control is a pretty useful thing to have in this game. So yeah. And then of course, you have roars for it. There's this one. Yep. Anyways, moving on to our next dino. Alright, here we have the Apado. This is basically a smaller scale variation of the Blocky. And in my opinion, it's a bit better than the Blocky, as not only is it slightly faster, has slightly more stam, but it also just, in general, I think the attacks are a little better. Given that it has 2 long-range attacks and 1 short-range attack, which, as opposed to the Blocky having 1 long-range attack, 2 short-range. Which, then again, you could argue that, well, because of the size, he doesn't really need a lot of long range, but I beg to differ. Yep. These are, yeah, this is what it looks like. The attacks for this, I will say, this thing is another one of those ones that is tanky as hell, but against the right player can go down really fast. Especially with the fact that Brackies, Apados, Ankies, a lot of the really tanky dinos get teamed on really, really fast and really often. So if you're gonna play the Apado, make sure you either have a team on your side or you are prepared yourself to get teamed on. Now, I will say, it is possible to beat a team fight with just the Apado. I have seen people do it, and I've even seen my friends beat a 4v1 with a Blocky. It is possible to beat team fights with these dinos. It is just very difficult, and you are required to lock in hella. So do keep that in mind. As you can tell, the stamina is not that great, and, you know, he's just a little slow. But what he lacks in speed, it makes up for in damage and health. So like I said, you got these two long-range attacks right here. And then this one. Pretty much all of these attacks, by the way, do knock back your enemies, unless, of course, they have a passive that allows them knockback resistance. For example, this thing right here. This thing cannot be grabbed by heavies. It can be damaged by them, but it cannot be grabbed by them. There are a few dinos that do that. Depending on the size of dino, if you are playing a bigger size category dino than someone else, they can't grab you in heavies. They can't. They can damage you with them, but you are not going to be grabbable. For example, if a T-Rex attempted to use its heavy on me in attempts to grab me and ragdoll me, it wouldn't work. But I, with this heavy, can ragdoll them. Basically by just simply sitting on your enemies like a fucking... I'm not gonna make that joke, actually. But by sitting on your enemies, you can ragdoll people around you. It's another one of those that's really good for crowd control, especially if you're in a team fight. If you're in a team fight and you need people off of you, that heavy is perfect. Now, do be warned though, it is very easy to dodge. So if someone does dodge it, don't feel bad. It's short range. Another thing that is kind of mid about the Apado though is the fact that its hitbox is really long. Not just because it has a long neck, but because this tail, this entire thing, is also part of its hitbox. So, this right here, so yeah, this whole thing is just a big old target. Now, most people don't tend to go for an Apado because a lot of people don't like fighting them, but it does happen quite often, so I'd say just be more alert of it than not. But yeah. Overall, really good dino. I think it's kind of worth the price, honestly. Especially considering the fact that this guy is pretty late game, all things considered. A lot of the more tankier dinos are usually late game, though. And of course, you have his roars. So yeah, that's the Apado. Moving on to the next dino on our list. Next is a fairly early game character. This is the Baryonyx. He's a fairly early game dino that you can get, and he's actually really good. I personally love the Baryonyx. I think it's a very good dino to play, especially if you're still learning how to play the game and you want something that has a bit of a harder hit, but also isn't too difficult. Its skill ceiling is kind of low, all things considered, and it is pretty easy to run away with this thing. There's the attacks. There we go. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure the Baryonyx applies bleed, however, I could be wrong, as I do not remember the passive for this one, but I do know that its heavy is a death roll that deals quite a lot of damage, and as long as you continue to run away accordingly and apply pressure on the person you're fighting against, you should be fine. Even in a team fight, you should be fine. It isn't the best dino, given the fact that it only has 1550 in terms of health, and not as much stamina as it could have, but, you know, it has enough it has enough movement speed, and even if its health is a little lackluster, it certainly makes up for that in the amount of damage it deals. Which... Ow. And one thing I can also note real quick is that this attack right here, once hitting a player, if they are still around you when you hit that spin, they do get knocked away from you a very short distance, but in some cases, a short distance is really all you can hope for. So yeah, baryonyx, pretty easy, pretty simple. Technically speaking, there is a dinosaur that would be considered a better version of the baryonyx, that being the Suchomimus, but I'll get into why I don't think that's true when we get to the Suchomimus. So, till then, moving on to our next dinosaur. Here's the big boy of the hour. This here is the Blocky. Yep. Here he is in all of his glory. As you can see, very slow, not a lot of stam. The attack speed is... The attack speed's pretty decent. However, it is very easy to dodge this thing. As long as people can stay a good distance away from your neck when you go to do a neck swing, and as long as people can stay at least around where your tail is, you're pretty fucking beatable, all things considered. However, it's not only gonna take you using control locks to not only kind of just remove their chances of existing properly, because you can just kind of... Shit like that is possible. But it's also going to take them whittling down through 5,000 HP. Which, if someone does manage to do that, then they will get 400 coins for killing you. The most amount of coins you can get in this game is 400, and it comes from the Blocky. If I remember correctly, it will likely also come from the Titanosaur when that gets added. However, the Rebirth update is not presently out as of me recording this video. So... don't expect to see anything relating to them, given that as at the time of release and recording, that update has not come out yet. I will, however, likely be doing a part 2 to this video when the Rebirth update comes out, which will also likely include the Halloween event characters as well. Anyways. So yeah, all things considered, the Blocky does not have a heavy. It is one of the first dinosaurs you'll run into in here that doesn't have a heavy, but it deals enough damage to the point where sometimes I wonder if it even fucking needs one. Like I said, its sprint and walk speed are not very good, all things considered. And there really isn't much to say about it other than it's just a tank. If you're teaming with a Blocky, then... well, if you're teaming with a Blocky, then congratulations. The people you are teaming with are very, very safe as long as you know what you're doing. Which, yeah, the Blacky's entire thing, crowd control. You can just sit there doing this shit, and then if people are on your teammates and you happen to be close enough, or people happen to be close to you, like for example, sticking by your tail, you can just kind of do this, then hit the... hit that. So, or you can just try to body block for your teammates. Like I said, this thing is a massive tank. It's not really meant for a lot of... it's just a bullet sponge. All things considered, it's just a bullet sponge. You can attack with it, you can kill with it. I have seen people 4v1 with this thing and come out on top, but all things considered, to actually get that far, the skill ceiling is pretty high. So, if you want to get good with this thing, practice, practice, practice. Takes a lot of that. Anyways, now for the roars. Yep. Alright. moving on to the next dinosaur on the list. Next up from the default line, we have the Carnotaurus. Technically, the next one on the list itself, as seen in the dinosaur UI, is the bunny. However, the bunny is... according to my friend who actually has the bunny, it's basically just a slightly better variation of the Gallimimus, Pyroraptor, and Velociraptor. So... being that it's comparable to those three all at the same time in terms of how good it is, it's a fairly early game character. However, it is only available during the Easter event. So, thus we are skipping it, considering I don't own it, and moving straight to the Carnotaurus. The Carnotaurus is a very good mid to early game character for you to have. You can have it during the early game and you're basically off your feet. You are good to go to start grinding some money and get moving. If you have it mid-game, then good, you're progressing just fine. One thing to note about the Carnotaurus is that if you're going to attack with this thing, you gotta be prepared to be very aggressive. One attempt at running away and you are likely going to die. Deals quite a bit of damage, especially when all together. And then it has this right there that you can move with if you are in control lock. So yeah, you can move this thing assuming you're in control lock. Deals quite a bit of damage, especially when you continue to stack up and add the pressure on him, if you didn't see by that attack speed. Very easy to just kind of roam around the map with, and it does have a heavy, that being just running forward and that. If you happen to grab someone in your heavy, it will not only immediately deal quite a bit of damage, but it will also ragdoll them and throw them this way away from you. It will throw them to the left away from you. It's a very good way to get someone off of you if you really need to get rid of somebody so you can run away. Though, like I said, you are going to be more likely to die than you would be just trying to stay there and fight them off. Especially if they're already below half. Even if you're below half, there's a high likelihood that you'll likely be able to kill them before they kill you. And even if they don't feel bad. Never feel bad about it. It's not the end of the world. You can just spawn back in and try again. Overall, it's not a bad dino, certainly. I definitely like playing the Carno. I have one of the funny skins for him. It's not a bad skin. I really love it. And all in all, really just solid. I personally think that for the low health count, though, it should be like 850 instead of 900. But, like I said, that's personal opinion. Oh yeah, and then the roars. I really like this one. I really like the roar for that one because it just looks like he's trying to gain the confidence. Anyways, next dino on the list. Next up, we have the Cerrado, which in my opinion is just the better version of the Carnotaurus. Granted, it is yes, it is slower and it has 25 less health than the Carno does, but it has 5 more stam and it deals, in my opinion, better damage at a better rate, and its heavy is a bit better as well, dealing more damage and also still ragdolling the enemy while sending them away from you. More specifically, sending them forwards away from you. And you don't even have to run forward to do it. You literally just You literally just get in front of them, grab them, and then you just gnaw at them for a bit, yeet them in the air, and bonk them with bonk them with your snoot, and they go flying that way. Or in some cases, if it glitched, they go flying some other direction. But usually they go flying forward in front of you. All things considered, the Cerato is really good, especially with how mobile it is. This thing is really mobile, and it makes you travel a lot shorter of a distance, which, if you're 1v1ing or you want to have complete control over your movement, having this short range is perfect. Because not only are you not being sent too far from where you want to go, but if you're being sent too little from where you want to go, you can simply sprint forward to make up for that. Especially if you have, for example, bonk, then do this, then sprint forward, pop a heavy. And just like that, boom, you're 1v1ing up, I don't know, a Carno and winning. I've seen it happen, I've done it myself. It is possible to 1v1 Carnos and win. I've even 1v1'd a Giga and I won against it at one point. That's a different story. That guy just wasn't having a good day, and well, I got teamed on very shortly after that and died, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, overall, Cerato, very good dino. Honestly, kind of underlooked. Because the one thing that I do think that it needs is probably to be... I think it should have at least the same health as the Carno. But that's just, like I said, that's just me. Because with the health that it's at and with how slow it is, the more stam and slightly better attack speed and slightly better damage is not making up for it. And the passive doesn't really help that either. So... But, like I said, that's just my personal opinion. You don't gotta agree with it. I'm just saying. I think that that's what the Cerato needs, because I think it's just a better Carno. Oh yeah, of course. That one's more like a Snarl, but, you know. There you go. Alright, next dino on our list. Next up, what we have here is the Dilo. The Dilo is by far one of the best early game dinos to have, in my opinion. Granted, yes, the Pyroraptor, the Raptor, whatever, they're good and all, but the second best, in my opinion, right next to the Dimetrodon, is the Dilo, because not only is its damage way better, and its health and stam are way better. Granted, yeah, it has 30 less stam than the Gallimimus, and it has the same amount of stam as a Pyroraptor, but the damage is way better. And yeah, maybe you could argue, yeah, the speed isn't everything, but its passive is where it's at. The lower on health you are, the more damage that you deal, as at an extra 50% modifier at maximum. So, not only do you deal more damage the lower on health you are, so if people target you, they get punished for it, but you also run really fast, you have a lot of health, and you deal a lot of damage in quick succession. It doesn't have a heavy, granted. It does not have a heavy, but it's very easy to be a very, very annoying cockroach with this thing. I have had entire packs of Dilos come up and swarm people like a wasp's nest, and I've seen even Gigas just die to them. I have seen even T-Rexes die to a pack of Dilos. I've seen Ceratos die, and Carnos, and even Ankies. I have seen a lot of people die to just packs of Dilos, because they are very annoying and very hard to kill, especially if you find a pack of them that know what they're doing. So, if you want a really good early game dino that, that you can have until you save for the Dimetrodon. This guy, this is like the second best right there. And I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it. I know I'm kind of glazing it a bit, but it's like, it kind of deserves it, honestly. Anyways, moving on to our next dino. Now this is the Dimetrodon. This is the best early game thing to have, especially if you want to play aggressive and play like an absolute roach. The Dilo is good if you want to play like support and aggression, or if you just in general like to team with people. This thing, you can team with people, you can play alone, it doesn't matter. As long as you know how to run away and you know how to properly, pick at people and whittle down their health, this thing is super annoying because it deals a lot of damage, quick succession, and it can launch itself. And the sprint speed, yeah, the walk speed, slow walk speed, not that good, and then you become one of the fastest things alive. Like, look at this. And with 35 stam and a very slow drainage, yeah, you can make it pretty much all the way across the map in one stamina bar. Like, look at this. I'm going all the way across the map. And if I remember correctly, this thing also has, I think this thing has either Enraged or Frenzy. I'm pretty sure this thing has Frenzy. If you want to know what Frenzy does, basically, every time you hit an M1 attack, so every time you hit one of these on somebody, every time you hit one of those on somebody, you will get an extra 5% increase to your damage, up to a maximum of 25%. If you miss an attack, it will reset. However, if you manage to hit all of your attacks on somebody, you will basically be getting a constant 25%, and it doesn't go away until you miss an M1. So, all in all, the Dimetrodon, perfect starter, especially if you want to grind goats, look for ambers, or if you in general just want to try killing people. If you want to try killing people and you want to be a cockroach about it, go for the Dimetrodon. The 1400 health makes it really small but really tanky for its size. So you can go in there, you can start nipping at people's ankles and just do like drive-bys even. And it basically makes people incapable of healing as long as you're still alive, especially if you're teaming with somebody. Because at that point you are the no-healinator. You just don't let people heal. It's really funny, and it's also a really good way to get people angry at you. So if you like watching short-tempered people get really angry for no reason, then, well, this guy is perfect for you. This guy's also just perfect in general if you like playing aggressive while being able to run away. I know because I do that quite a bit. You can ask my friends. They hate me when I play this thing. Anyways. Look at this guy. He's just a little yapper. See? Just a little yapper. Anyways, moving on to our next dino. Next, we move on to the Aloe, specifically Dominion Aloe from Jurassic Dominion. This guy, he is really good. If you want a perfect mid-game character that isn't the Cerrado, think like you're playing the Cerato mixed with the Baryonyx. It's a really, really good character to play in this game. Granted, yeah, its sprint and movement speed don't look like the best, but compared to a lot of other dinos, this guy's actually pretty fast, and it's really good at catching up to people as well. Now, assuming that they're playing a bigger dino. Now, and it's heavy. Don't even get me started on the heavy, because its basic attacks, really good. This guy is meant to apply as much pressure as possible from my experience with playing with him. And in my experience with playing with him, this guy is the perfect precursor if you want to work up to getting the T-Rex and the Giga. If you want to work up to getting a T-Rex and the Giga, then this guy is the perfect precursor to doing that, because the attacks are very similar. The only thing that's different is the heavy. Now, that's what the startup to it looks like. If you grab someone in this heavy, they get shaken around a little bit, and then basically, I'm pretty sure it's ever so slightly faster than your sprint speed, or it is equivalent to your sprint speed, but either way, the Allo will start running with this thing in its mouth, dealing 30 or 40 damage a tick, and then after a while, it just kind of shakes it around a little bit and then throws it off this way. A very brutal heavy that deals a lot of damage, especially if you are in a team fight. Then again, I've said that a lot, so I'm starting to sound like a broken record, I'm sure, or maybe I already do, I don't know. But this thing, fucking lethal. Like, if you know what you're doing with this thing, then they may as well just kiss their health bars goodbye, especially if you're using this to help practice yourself for the T-Rex. Now, I should note, the T-Rex is not in any way identical to the Allo. This thing is just so you can practice a similar playstyle to it. So with the Allo, you want to be as aggressive as possible, but also know when to run away. If you get to probably like about to where you're at half health, or about to be at half health, that's probably when you want to try dipping out. If you can't dip out well enough, and you're in like a team fight or something, or you really need a way out, heavy. Just heavy at the person, and then run the opposite direction from where you grabbed them. Once you throw them, just keep running as far as you can go. Eventually you'll heal back to full, and you'll be able to start 1v1ing or going in team fights again if you have a team with you. The difference between that and the T-Rex is that you can't really do that with the T-Rex. And I should note, the T-Rex is heavy, as you'll see later in this video, are much different than the Allos. So, like I said, this is a good precursor to the T-Rex, but they are not the same. So, do take this little part of the video about the Allo with a grain of salt. While you can learn to play the T-Rex by getting the Allo first, they are not the same. I want to make that expressly clear. Anyways, here's the roars for you. Now this right here is one of our late game kings right here, the Giganotosaurus. This guy is insanity. He is a tank. It doesn't have a lot of stam, and it doesn't have a lot of speed, but it makes up for it in damage and health, much like the Blocky does. However, this thing is crazy. It's heavy, can throw people, and also deal a lot of damage, and as long as you know how to stay right up on someone, this thing can stomp in a 1v1, and it can stomp in a team fight too. Even if you have like 2 Gallimimus and a Suchomimus or something, As long as you're still alive, you can be one of the scariest things in the server, especially if you know what you're doing. Now, do be warned, a lot of people that play the Giga do try to do the side boxing, aka hitbox abuse, because of how slim this thing is and how big this thing's hitbox is in general. Now, I want to advise people against doing that because of how slow this thing's speed is, and due to that, you're likely not going to be able to sidebox very well unless against another Giga. So, keeping that in mind, let me show you the attacks. Yeah, this thing's attacks, it's basically just a bigger T-Rex. I'm saying, now, take that with a hefty grain of salt. The attacks are extremely similar. The only difference being is that the third attack launches you quite a bit farther and deals 2 different sets of damage as opposed to just one that the T-Rex does. And in my opinion, the heavy for the Giga is a lot better than the T-Rex. Basically, it'll grab a player in front of you, throw them into the air, and then this motherfucker just breathes fire on them, launching them further into the air, and then launching them off in front of you. Or in some cases behind you if the ragdoll lands really weird. But it ragdolls them for an extended period of time, and also deals a lot of damage to them as well, and gives anyone that happens to also want a piece of whoever you're fighting time to also go catch them as well. Or gives you time to catch them if you can sprint over there in time. Which gives you time to just continue applying the pressure by M1, and then just launching yourself at them. Because yeah, you can turn this thing too. As long as you have control lock, you can turn with this. So yeah, that's the biggest basics of the Giga. It is really, really good. It's not the best by any means. It is not the best, but it is extremely good, especially for late game. If you're in a late game, this guy's probably one of your goals. Anyways, here's the roars. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have the Iguanodon, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated dinos in this game, because it's pretty fast. Its walk speed is pretty quick, all things considered. Granted, it is not the quickest, by no means, but for being a dino of this size, being what it is, it's a lot faster than I initially thought it was going to be, especially the sprint speed. This sprint speed can outrun most of the late game dinos, so as long as you manage to keep distance with this thing and only go in when actually necessary, you should be fine. All in all, the Iguanodon is pretty good and actually has a pretty decent attack speed and attack range. That being that you can move during all of its attacks, and you can also continue to make close range with it, especially if you're fighting tier 3s. If you're fighting late game characters, then you're pretty golden. You're pretty golden. Now, the 2000 health, don't let that fool you. That can go down really fast. It is not recommended to go against Gigas or T-Rexes or Spinos or whatever alone. Unless you are that confident in your skill and you know you can kill them, don't do it. You will end up dying. Now, if you want to try it anyway and you end up being wrong in your assumption that you could take it, don't feel bad. It's okay. We all make that mistake. You can always go in and try again. The best way that you'll likely end up getting kills on late game characters with the Iguanodon is if you happen to go in while they are at least about here on their health bar. if they're at about there on the health bar, and the person that was originally fighting them died, then at that point, it's just free game. Normally, it's not recommended to go try low killing other people, but if the person that was fighting them had already died, and you really want to try 1v1ing someone with this thing is that bad, then that's probably the best time to go in there. I say probably. Like I said, you're likely gonna get it wrong, and you're probably even gonna die, and that's okay. That happens. All in all, the Iguanodon, while being underrated, is definitely not the best. It's pretty good for a mid-game dino, but there are certainly a lot better things out there for this. So, if anything, I would recommend maybe, because this thing, if you're in a team, it's a really good support dino. If you want to run in there to deal support damage, then this guy is probably the one for you. But alone, this thing is mediocre at best. Like I said though, this is my own opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Like I said at the start of the video, I highly recommend you try playing every dino at least once so that you can garner your own opinions on it. Anyways, here's the roars. This next dino is a very rare one that you don't really see very often, that's the Patchy. The Patchy is a pretty decent early game character to get, and in my opinion, I honestly think he's pretty worth it, all things considered. Because if you're in control lock, he deals a lot of damage, and for being what he is, he has a lot of health. He has the same health, he has the same stam as the Pyroraptor, and he has quite a bit of health for being, well, Patchy. Patchies are pretty tanky. For being small dinos, these bastards are pretty tanky, especially with their heads. They deal a lot of damage all at once, and a steerable third attack that basically is a charge. This is the same thing with this as well. This one you're going to want to be really close with. It's not a ragdolling heavy unless I'm pretty sure you're with smaller dinos, though I'm pretty sure it doesn't even ragdoll. I think it just deals a lot of damage. But overall, this thing, it is a great damage dealer early game. It's fast, it has some pretty decent health, all things considered, for the pricing that it's at. And overall, it has decent speed and stam. If you get below half health though, I wouldn't expect to be able to make it out alive. You are more likely to die if you let yourself get to half health. So, if you're going to play with this thing, play very carefully. You can kill people with this thing, but play very carefully with it. It does one-shot goats, and it's very good at and you are going to be very good at finding ambers with this guy. If you're gonna try killing players though, like I said, play very carefully and do not be afraid to run away if you have to. That's really all I can say for the Patchy. It's not a bad dino by any means. I just, for being early game, it's not bad for an early game. Not at all. But there are better dinos. But hey, I will say, if you want this to be your first early game, I say good choice. If you're gonna go early game, like for example, if your end game goal is like the trike, and you don't have enough for the Styraco yet, or you want to try something else before getting it, this guy is pretty damn good for that. This is like your precursor to if you want to play the Styraco. And then from the Styraco, you can go up to another tanky dino, like the Anki, and then after that, go for the Trike. However, I'm pretty sure the Trike is cheaper than the Anki, if I remember correctly. So, anyways, here are the rules for you. Hell yeah. Alright. Next dino on the list. Parasaur is up next, and this guy is a very, very underrated mid-game dino. I think it is one of the most underrated mid-game dinos to date. It is very good. It deals great damage for its pricing, and not only that, but it attacks at multiple angles as well. It'll attack twice at the front, and then once behind you. So if you have people behind you, or if you know how to, for example, if you have someone right here, then you hit them with this, and you turn around, do it again, and it even works with the heavy as well, considering the heavy kicks behind you. The heavy has a bit of a long startup, which isn't ideal. However, if you hit it, it deals great damage and sends them ragdoll flying that way. So, even if you have someone behind you and you want to get them off of you, then that's a great heavy to use. However, if they do see it coming, it is quite easy to dodge, especially if they know how to fight a Parasaur. But, for being a mid-game dinosaur, this guy is really underrated because it's passive. Pacifist gives you extra 25% health regen, sorry. So that is a quarter extra health regen when you are out of combat. And with how fast this thing moves, you are guaranteed to outrun most late game, if not all, and most mid-game dinos. There are a lot of mid-game dinos that can catch up to the Parasaur quite easily, but most mid-game and late-game dinos you are guaranteed to get out of combat from, and then with the really quick health regen, it makes up for the low amount of health, and then once you're back at full, you can turn back around and start donkey kicking your way through the ranks. Especially with the great damage and the fast attack speed, because this... If you manage to hit someone, by the way, the attack speed for this thing is genuinely crazy. If I was consistently hitting people, this would be crazy. Anyways. So yeah. That's the Parasaur. Here's your roars. He's just a little guy. I love him so much. He's my favorite mid-game dino to play, so granted, yeah, you could argue that a lot of my good things about this guy is just me glazing him because he's my favorite. But genuinely, I think you guys should try playing him. It is really fun. The skill ceiling for him is a bit high considering that you either have to A, turn, or B, have to be able to aim your behind attack properly and your heavy. But once the skill ceilings aside, this guy, I really think you guys should try. However, I'm not you, so I can't physically make you. So you guys do you. Anyways, next dino. So here it is, the effectively better Gallimimus, the Pyroraptor. So yeah, sprint speed is really, really good, all things considered. Look at how fast this guy is. I'm pretty sure it can either keep up with the Galley, or it's faster than the Galley in sprint speed, and then its walk speed is, still fast, since it's a small dino, but, for a small dino, still kind of slow. He's just taking a stroll, meandering along. But yeah, it deals much better damage and launches itself as well. So yeah. Like I said, 50 less health, and yeah, granted it has 20 less stam than the galley does, but it makes up for that in the speed and the damage. Like I said, I have teamed with my friend while using this, and we were both absolute menaces in an entire server, and we genuinely got people so mad at us that they all switched to the Indom, which is one of the best late game characters in the game, by the way. Especially because everyone hitbox abuses with it, so you know. But yeah, overall, Pyroraptor, not much to say about it that I haven't already said about the galley. Like I said, it has the same passive as the galley even, so if you get low on health and you need to run away, you can just disappear. Especially because you're small too. Since you're small, it's harder to see you. That's part of what makes characters like the Pyroraptor, the Dimetrodon, even the Patchy really good, because despite having these brighter colors, you're still really hard to see. So, take that how you will. Anyways, here's the roars. We're slowly reaching the end of our list, but our first hybrid we're going to be talking about is the Scorpius Rex. I want to note, at the time of recording this, I do not presently own the Indominus Rex. I am saving for it, as you can see by my Dino Coin count. I am currently saving for it at the moment, as it is currently 50k to get. Its normal price, however, is 75,000. This, right here, being 16,000. Now, in my opinion, it is not very worth it. This guy right here, in my opinion, is not worth the 16k coins. The attack speed is pretty decent, but the fact that... yeah. This guy right here, the attack speed is pretty decent, but all things considered, it feels a little too slow for the Scorpius Rex to be moving. Even its running animation doesn't seem to line up with its running speed, in my opinion. The walk speed, I feel like could be increased by like maybe 1 or 2 studs, and then this one really needs to be upgraded by like maybe 5 studs at most. Like, it needs some speed upgrade, in my opinion. I don't think it should be too fast. Like I said, this feels a bit slow for the Scorpius Rex of all things to be moving. And the other thing that really throws it off is the fact that while its attack speed is pretty decent, 2 of its attacks stop you from moving, and its damage output is not the greatest, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great dino. I really like the Scorpius Rex. I love its model, I love its sounds, I love the way that it looks, I love the way that it's animated, and all things considered, its combat mechanics, even while not the greatest alone, are perfect in teams. But outside of that, this guy isn't the greatest, and the only good thing about it being in a team fight, besides it having support damage, is the poison effect. Because if you are 1v1ing someone with they have the poison effect on them, all it does is forcefully drain their stam and keep it empty until the poison effect ticks go away. Which, when you're 1v1ing a Scorpius, is mildly inconveniencing at best. Like, it's not... cool, I guess. Like, yay! But, I mean, it doesn't really do anything else. Like, it doesn't change movement speed or anything like that. Like, it doesn't really do anything. like, literally, besides just messing with the stam, the poison effect does virtually nothing. So, like I said, the only good way about using it is in a team fight, because in a team fight, well, people need stam in a team fight, and if you're the one taking away their stam in a team fight, then that makes this guy, like I said, perfect support for a team. but on its own, it's not the greatest. Like I said, don't get me wrong, I love it. I love this thing quite a bit. It's just I think it needs a serious buff. Like I said though, that's my own opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, my opinions are not definitive, alright? Like I said, if you're going to save for this thing, I would highly recommend saving it and trying to play it for yourself. I bought this thing pretty fucking recently, to all things considered. Like, I bought this thing like a month ago, and I haven't really touched it all that much. So, maybe I'm speaking as a person who just hasn't played it enough, but from where I am right now on my stance on this thing, that's just how I feel. Anyways, here are the roars. Alright, moving on to our next dino. Look at this Pokemeister. Fucking cross-eyed motherfucker. Alright, here is one of the slimmest hitbox characters in the game, the Spino. Most people that play the Spino, you are guaranteed to find people hitbox abusing with him because he is really slim, and as much as I hate to say it, the normal Spino needs a buff. Can you guess why? Because he's garbage without you hitbox abusing. That's why. Yeah, if you want to play the Spino, you're either going to have to become the very thing you swore to destroy and hitbox abuse in order to use him, or if you don't want to do that, you're going to have to, well, suck up the fact that you're likely going to lose most 1v1s you go into with him. Because, yes, while his passive and his attacks are great, those being this, he himself is not that great. He's a good late game character, especially if you want to try to get him as a preemptive to like the Giga or something, I guess, but it's not good. He's really not. His health is great and all, and his speed is nice, but he has, in my opinion, too little stam. Like, I think he needs like maybe 30 stam, and he really just needs better attacks, because those two just do attacks, and then this knocks you and everyone in front of you back while also dealing damage. And another thing that is also not a great saving grace to this guy, he doesn't have a heavy. Yeah, he doesn't have a heavy. That kind of puts him lower in terms of everything. His sprint speed is great. I like his sprint speed. I think his block speed needs a buff, personally. Maybe like 1 or 2 studs, and then he'll be fine. But, yeah. Like I said, the only thing that makes this guy good, you have to hitbox abuse. Or else, you're just gonna have to suck up the fact that you're likely gonna lose 90% of the 1v1s you go into with this guy unless you're fighting another Spino. Then even then, it's up to who gets the first hit. Yeah, there really isn't a lot to talk about with this guy. Like I said, his passive is great and all, and it definitely supports him very well, but he's just not it, man. He's just not it. Like, and he's one of those characters that you either, like, even if you're not hitbox abusing, you have to sweat so hard to kill anyone with this thing. Even other Spinos. It's so sad. Like, I genuinely don't like playing Spino for that reason, because I don't like having to sweat for it. I really don't. But, you know, I just end up having to, and then I get bored and not play this thing anymore. Like I said, that's my opinion about this guy. I know that some people will say, I know that there's a few people in the JB community that would probably agree with me that the Spino is probably kinda ass and needs a bit of a buff. Honestly, a small buff, just a small buff, that's all he needs for me, and then I will play him again. I just want to not have to sweat my tits off every time I try to play this guy. Please. That's all I ask. I know that we're likely gonna end up getting that with the Rebirth Spino, but, like, give your OG Spino some love, man. And he needs a remodel too. Look at this. You can see the split in the dorsal fin here. You can see where the textures are breaking apart and, like, going into each other. Like, he looks so patchwork. He looks like patchwork. Like, the textures on his body and his legs are fine, but his arms are all clippy. All of the textures on his neck and his, like, lower part of his jaw are clipping. His fin is all split and it looks weird. Like... But then again, that's just that's like a minor nitpick. I don't actually care whether or not the Spino gets a remodel or not. I just want to have to not sweat every time I play it. Because frankly, I could go with or without a remodel on this thing. I really don't care. I just think he needs a buff or something. Like, please. Ugh. Anyways, here's the verse. Next dino. Alright, we're on to by far the most underrated dino in my opinion, the Styraco. This thing, all it needs is a health buff. That's all this thing needs, and then he is perfect. 1600 health. That's what he needs. This thing is genuinely underrated. People have told me that this dino is shit, and I have beaten 1v1s with Spinos, I've beaten 1v1s with Carnos, I've beaten 1v1s with Ceratos, and, well, Galleys, but that's given because they tried to hit me first. And, like, even when teaming with people, I've beaten Gigas, Rexes, Ankies, Apatos, even. Like, this thing, it applies bleed every single time you attack with this thing. And given that it has this, that, and triple. This thing, if you can land every single hit on this thing, it deals over 375 damage plus bleed. So, tack that on to everything else that this thing does. From its fast speed to its good stam, its health is the only thing that is holding this thing back, and then it is perfect. It is perfect. Besides that, that is literally the only thing holding it back. In my opinion. I hope that other people out there would agree with me, but yeah, this guy, very underrated in my opinion. I genuinely think more people should try playing the Styraco because he is genuinely good. The skill ceiling when 1v1ing or when team fighting is kind of high. But if you're planning to get the trike, then this guy is a perfect precursor. And even though I have the trike, I still go back to play the Styraco. He is so fun. Even if you don't win a fight, this guy is really fun and really good, in my opinion. Like I said, the only thing holding him back is his health. And maybe give him 50 stam instead of 45, but that part is genuinely just optional because of how fast he moves. Anyways, here are the roars. Boom. Alright, next dino. Next, we're on to a dinosaur that I had mentioned prior when I was talking about the baryonyx, is the Suchomimus. Now, like I said, the speed is if not a little bit slower or about the same as the Baryonyx, and it does have pretty decent attack speed and attacks. And a fairly decent passive, all things considered. However, it doesn't have a heavy. In my opinion, it's one of the only things holding it back, and also given the fact that it has a slim hitbox, the Suchomimus is another one of those dinos that, in my opinion, isn't very good unless you are trying to hitbox abuse, which, with the speed that it has, doesn't work. Now, granted, I have used the Suchomimus without hitbox abusing, considering the fact that I literally despise doing it, and yeah, 9 times out of 10 I end up dying. This guy, it's not that good. Granted, it is pretty decent if you're in a team. It's one of those dinos that's good if you're in a team. However, if you're on your own, you may as well kiss your chances of winning goodbye, because yeah, this guy really isn't that great. It's another one of those dinos that, in my opinion, really needs a buff, and also kind of a remodel, because something doesn't seem right here. Oh boy. But yeah. But yeah, all things considered, there really isn't a lot to say about the Suchomimus, so here are your roars. On to the next dino. Alright, next is the Tarbo, and the Tarbo, in my opinion, is by far one of the better late game ones to get. This guy is the guy that you get before you get the T-Rex. That's what this guy is, effectively. If you are planning to get the T-Rex or the Giga, I highly recommend getting this guy first. Because he is genuinely better than the T-Rex in almost everything except for health. If he had 2k or 2500 health, then he would be genuinely perfect. His heavy is perfect and really realistic, by the way. Like, the way it's animated and the way that it looks, even with a ragdoll, is just beautiful. All things considered, the Tarbo, according to my boyfriend, is very historically accurate given the fact that it's just a smaller T-Rex, and they really encapsulate that in that game, the only issue being that the health is a bit too small. Like I said, 2k or maybe like 2,000, 2,500, something like that, and this guy would be genuinely perfect. Nothing else needs to change. Its price, perfect. Its damage, perfect. The only other thing that holds it back is its third attack, because this right here, it deals a lot of damage with a kind of a slow windup, which, all things considered, very balanced. And then its third attack literally stops you from moving just to do a really overly long spin that knocks the person you spin into back while also damaging them with the bite, and 9 times out of 10 you're better off just sprinting after them to do the first 2 attacks than waiting until your attack cooldown resets. Because, yeah, the third attack is kind of AIDS. And the model doesn't even need changed either, in my opinion. Like, this model is great. I love this model a lot. So yeah, that is the Tarbo. I really don't have a lot to say about this. It does have the Frenzy passive, by the way, I'm pretty sure. If you remember me talking about it earlier with the Dimetrodon, it has that, I'm pretty sure. So, here are your roars. That one just sounds like the roar got caught in his throat. On to our next dino. Next up on our dinosaur list, we have the Theory. The Theory was my first dino that I bought, and granted, yes, I am kind of gonna glaze it here because it's one of it is my first favorite dino. I think the Theory is fucking perfect. Perfect amount of health, perfect amount of stam, perfect speed. The attack speed is wonderful. Just this, and then a steerable third attack. And every single attack it deals applies bleed. The only gripe I might have with it is the fact that its damage numbers are a bit low, but I'm willing to pass that up given the fact that it does in fact have bleed. I genuinely don't really have anything bad to say about it. Like genuinely, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Like, it is really good. Like, if you get this guy second, you are just set in stone. You are just set. Like, until you find another dino that you want to buy, you are just genuinely set up for your for the next few times you play. It is just so good in my opinion. Now, like I said, I'm kind of glazing it here, so take that with a grain of salt. I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably don't think the Theory is that good themselves, and, you know, you don't have to agree with me. That's fine. I don't care. You don't got to agree with me. Oh, yeah. And then here's the Heavy. Yep. You just stop in place and you fling that in front of you, and then anyone that's in front of you gets 200 damage dealt automatically and then gets ragdolled back pretty far, and also has mud covering their screen for a few seconds, which is meant to blind them, but, I mean, assuming that there are people that are used to it or just know how to play the game or have memorized their shit enough anyway, or have memorized where you are, yada yada, it's not really that annoying. It's like a mild inconvenience at best. So anyways, here are the roars, and then we'll move on. I should note too that there are skins in this game. For example, the Pluto Theory, that does change the sound design of this character, but for the sake of time constraint, I am not going to be showing that. So, if you would like to see it yourself, I would recommend going to play the game, getting the Theory, and saving up for the Pluto Theory, because I think it's worth it personally. Anyways, on to our next time. Next up, we have, by far, I think, the best dino in the game, the Trike. The Trike is so strong, it doesn't have a lot of stam, it doesn't have a lot of speed, but it has an assload of health and way too much damage. Oh my god. I say way too much very lightheartedly, but yeah, this thing is insane. I have seen Trike players solo Brackies, solo Gigas, solo Spinos, solo T-Rexes, even soloing Apatos. I have seen Trikes do some crazy fucking mental shit. They have great attack speed, great attacks, a lot of damage, and as long as you can keep the pressure on a person, you can pretty much almost guarantee that they're gonna die if they hit you first, unless they are faster than you. And even if they die, they're still gonna have a whole cavalry coming back. You are the cavalry. The Trike is busted as hell for no reason. Now, you can call that glazing all you want, and sure, maybe a few people have killed a few Trikes, and maybe you've died as a Trike a few times, but if you've seen Trike players, you would know that it doesn't matter. Trike players, yes, honestly, the skill ceiling, kinda low. All you have to do, pick up the Trike, figure out how to manage your stam, figure out how to get close enough to deal constant damage, and you are fucking set. and especially in teams. If you are a trike and you happen to be teaming, anyone who happens to get into a team fight with you is likely gonna get cooked, because you're not the support damage, everyone else is your support damage. Even unless you have another trike, in which case you have 2 offenders right there. 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. The trike is crazy. The only thing that I would say that is at least somewhat meh about it is the fact that maybe it could use 50 more health? Or 5 more stam. Either 50 more health or 5 more stam. One or the other. I don't think giving it both would do any good, because it's really slow. But for being a trike, it's actually pretty fucking fast. It seems like it's slow, but for a trike, this thing is really fast. Like, for being, like, comparing this to the Yankee, I think the trike actually is faster than the Yankee. So, if you thought sideboxing was a pain in the ass with the Yankee, this thing literally makes it impossible. You can't sidebox an Yankee, and you can't sidebox a goddamn trike. I wouldn't recommend trying. It is not worth it. And then there's the heavy. That heavy right there, literally just, it's the same as the Apato. It's a short-range ragdoll that's great for crowd control, especially if you need people to get the hell off of you. And if you do it correctly, it is also a person launcher. It's very funny. So yeah, that's the trike. Here's Aurora's. On to our next dino. Alright, here it is. Everyone's, most people's endgame goal pre-rebirth that isn't the Indom, the T-Rex. As you can assume, the T-Rex is really good, genuinely. Despite it being pretty slow in speed, which at this point you could probably come to imagine is pretty common with most dinos this big, especially a late game. It deals quite a bit of damage. Like I said, that first attack simply deals damage, while the second and third one will knock your enemies back, along with you lunging forward in your third attack, as seen just now. Now, the heavy, like I said, it is very different. You simply grab the dino in front of you, slam them on the ground once, then slam them on the ground twice, and they usually end up going frisbee-loo. They're meant to get thrown off in the direction of which he lets you go in, but the ragdolls just don't tend to do that, so you end up just helicoptering in place and then landing on the ground and then subsequently coming back and then subsequently gaining your controls back, which usually gives the T-Rex enough time to just kind of... Overall, a pain in the ass to 1v1 with, but a really good dino overall. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I know it's kind of an overrated one, but, like, he's good. Like, he's really good. He, she, they, whatever. It's really good. The T-Rex. Though I'm pretty sure most people would have been able to guess that. Anyways, here are your roars. Here is probably one of the most common starter characters you're likely going to see besides the Gallimimus is the Velociraptor. As stated before, the Velociraptor actually has 50 more health than the Gallimimus, 10 less stam, and deals just barely less damage. So, but The speed is somewhere around the same, if not just a wee bit slower, and the attack speed is just a little bit better. There really isn't much to say about the Velociraptor that I haven't already said about the Pyroraptor and the Gallimimus, so like I said, pretty good starter character. I'd recommend something else like the Dilo or the Dimetrodon, but if you really want a super cheap character and you want to progress a little bit faster, then yeah, you would be good with the Velociraptor. I should note though that it, much like the Galli and the Pyro, it two-shots goats instead of one-shot. Meanwhile, the Dilo, I think one-shots goats. I know the Dimetrodon does though. If I remember correctly, I think this thing also does have Frenzy instead of Runner. Either that or it does have Runner, so I don't fully remember, so... But I'm pretty sure I put it on the screen before I actually played this thing. This clip, so... But I'm pretty sure I put it on the screen before I actually played this clip. So... Yeah, here's the roars. Toothless, is that you? On to the final dino in this list, we have the Yutyrannus. The Yuty is a great dino. The only thing holding it back is honestly the health, because the damage is great. It has Frenzy, so you can deal quite a lot of damage with this thing, especially if you're hitting all of your attacks. It does have this, a double strike, and a dodge roll that deals a lot of damage. And then some pretty really good speed actually for being a medium-sized dino. I'd say if you want to get an expensive second dino, the Yuty or the Theri are probably your best bets. The Yutyrannus is really good, especially if you can land all of your shots. I have seen Yuties and I've played as the Yuty enough. You can 1v1 really well with the Yutyrannus in a team. This thing is really lethal, especially being a main offender. The one thing you'll want to keep note of though is you'll want to know when to run away. Big thing. Big thing. It's the biggest thing. And like that. Oh yeah, I almost forgot as well. Heavy. Basically, you run forward, and if he catches one of these things, he will grab it, slam it against the ground several times, dealing 40 damage with each slam, and then throwing them off to, I think, the right. Either way, throws them away from you. Really, really, really long ragdoll, lots of damage. Very good, especially if you have your Frenzy active. And with that, that is the end of our little journey. I really hope that this comprehensive guide hasn't been too confusing, though it probably has. But I really hope that this comprehensive guide hasn't been too confusing. I really hope that anyone that watches this that hasn't played JB yet has learned about it. I really hope that JB can garner some new players from anyone that watches this video, because these devs are amazing. They work really hard on their game. They're just a small team of developers for this Roblox game, and genuinely they work really hard to try to get this game out, and they really try hard to keep it alive. They're really great, they're really chill, they're really, really funny, and I really hope that I can help introduce some new people into their community. And I hope that we can all have fun here. And if any of you guys are seeing this video, maybe I'll see some of y'all in my servers. Anyways, until next time, guys, I really hope you enjoyed. And if you didn't, then, well, why are you still here? Like, what's the point? And, yeah, that's about all I can think of. See you guys!